What? Sorry, I pressed start before I was ready, but that's okay because I'm pretty much ready. I was still writing my description. It was going to be a Q&A time. Does anyone have any specific Q&As before I get started? Just had a few spare minutes, so I thought I'd come on and just try and really happy to connect with you guys. Thanks for favoriting. To connect with you guys with about art supplies for fashion, because I'm Laura Volpentesta. I teach fashion illustration and fashion design at Parsons School of Design since 1997. And actually, the first year I graduated there in 1995, and thanks for the hearts. And please pipe in with questions. I'd love to know also where you're from, or what your background is, or if there's anything you want to learn. I'm here for, I especially love teaching, well, I like all levels, but total beginners, because it's so much easier to help someone get on their feet than help someone unlearn stuff that's given them trouble. Like, yeah, it's really the big thing I love to do is bring down blocks and break down barriers so you can express yourself and enjoy expressing yourself above all, and to learn in an environment that doesn't include massive student loans, and that's like on your schedule, on your time. So my website is called Fashion Illustration Tribe, and I'll tell you more and more about that as we go. But what I want to do now is I just picked up my bag of supplies that I brought to New York City last week to teach. I also teach here at home online through Fashion Illustration Tribe at my website, and I just want to pull throughout some of my art supplies and tell you about them, and or answer questions you have about sketching, about art, about figure drawing, and art supplies that we use. So anybody here like to sketch fashion already? Anyone have any? Hello, welcome everybody. Okay, so I'm just gonna jump in then, I guess, but please don't hesitate, because what I love most about Periscope is chatting and talking. Now, I don't know if you're seeing me horizontally, but today I was on a scope early this morning and found out that Periscope, if you update your app, you can do horizontal now. You can even do comments and everything. Oh, sorry, I was just sliding back and forth. If you update your Periscope app, you can now go horizontal, which is fabulous news a lot of the time, especially, I don't know if any of you have done any interviews yet, but I have, and it's really hard to fit two heads in an interview on top of each other. Okay, so here I'm just going to grab a sketch pad, and I'll tell you about that offhand. Strathmore is like super affordable brand of paper, and yet a great quality. So I've been using them since my student days. Strathmore sketch pads are, Sketch is the cheapest. I mean, there's cheaper paper, but it's the cheapest one I'll use in my classes. Newsprint is the cheapest, but newsprint paper is grayish, and I really want to make sure we use something that's bright white. The sun is setting as I make this video. Bright white, because it's so clear, and as we work with colors are going to show up a lot more on a bright white paper. It's also, the sketch paper is slightly sheer, so if you need to do any tracing, sketch paper is great for that, whereas drawing paper is actually very thick and rich. I have drawing pads here too, and I think they're also Strathmore. This is a drawing pad. Drawing paper, this one's creamy, it's thick and wonderful. You can actually even do your watercolors on it. We use gouache. I'll show you some great gouache soon. Hi, how are you? Welcome. Thanks for coming, Tane, and let me know, Tanner. Tanner, if you have any questions about anything, just interrupt me, because I'm so interested in connecting with you guys. Laura Volpentesta from Fashion Illustration Tribe. Hi. So here, drawing paper is thicker. You can't trace through it for anything. It's more expensive, so you get less in a pad, but it's so nice that you can actually put watercolor on it. It'll wrinkle up a little, but it has a really rich quality. But you're going to use Sketch for most things. And if you're home and all you have is a number 2 pencil and like copy paper, you can do that too. Copy paper and cardstock is a decent start, but the great thing about having sketch paper and drawing paper is it has a surface they call vellum. V-E-L-L-U-M. Vellum paper is like, we call it a tooth. The paper has like a gritty, slightly gritty surface. So Actually, I'll show you, that leads me to show you something right away. I'm just going to grab one of my pencils and show you. Are you seeing me like really clearly, or is it kind of pixelated and blurry? Hopefully you'll see nice and clear. This is a tin of Prismacolor Premier colored pencils. Now, in my courses and in my techniques, we only use colored pencil at the end. So we're always going to use watercolor or gouache under that. It looks much more fabric-like and much more fluid and flowy like clothing is. Colored pencil is always used in conjunction with some kind of wet colored media behind it, at least in my techniques. So I'm showing you these pencils first, but I don't want you to think that what I teach is colored pencil illustration, because it's definitely not. We'll start with pencils, and we're definitely building up into gouache, watercolor. Oh, well, here's kind of an example. I didn't realize I had this here. This is just an example of like a model drawing lesson that I had taught in class about how to create a standing model, a profile model, and a back view model. Another big thing I want to tell you, this is using length proportions, but in my classes, we do a lot of different body types. So length proportions may be more or less the same, but we play with width. My goal is to teach you to create the human body, which is so exciting. I've always been really passionate about figure drawing, but to teach you in a way that you have the power to customize the body however you want, and not, I mean, if I show you some pictures of that I did when I was in college, and the kind of body type that I was encouraged to draw and how long and skinny and gross it was, I'm embarrassed to even share that with you. What's this? Oh, I didn't realize that's what this is. So these are just some demos from class the other day, building bodies. And I will be sharing a lot of this kind of stuff. Also, if you go to my website, you will already find, if you click on blog, so fashionillustrationtribe.com, if you click on blog, you're going to see all kinds of articles in there on paints. There's an art supply article where you can actually just link up to the whole shopping cart that we use in my Parsons class and in my Fashion Illustration Tribe coaching classes. So you can just, it's like about $150. You get all the supplies that I'm going to show you today, and they're great supplies. It's like you get everything you need to get you started, and it saves you a lot of trouble looking around. So there are also articles about how to get more movement into your model drawing, which gouache colors you can't live without. Gouache is a watercolor. I'll tell you about that too. I have so much I want to share. This is what I've been doing for like 20 years. I mean, I do many things. I also do a lot of other arts and things, but I feel so at home teaching this stuff. What I wanted to show you about the paper having a tooth is that the gritty surface of a good paper really holds on to pencils. So you can go from like very light and soft to quite, to like totally opaque. And that's really important because think of fabrics. Not all fabrics are soft and fuzzy, but when they are, you really want to play that up, right? You want to show those textures. And the thing is, it goes from textured to all the way to opaque and shiny and super dark and thick. Now, part of that is because the paper is has a tooth to it. It's a vellum surface, they call it. But it's also because these Prismacolor pencils, and you will balk at the price, you know, they're a little pricey, but the quality is so superior. That's not to say that they don't break constantly. They do break constantly because they are soft, but also because they are soft, they're extremely sensitive. You can blend colors together to get colors that you don't actually own, and you can go from a light sheer overlay to a really intense, rich, deep kind of color. So that's something we would use in class. Let me see an example here. Here's just a quick example of like a sketch page where, you know, I painted everything in watercolor first. Now, these aren't final illustrations. This is what I call croquis book. So this is like in the sketchbook, sketch with pencil, add skin tone, throw down some watercolor colors, but then the colored pencil comes in when I'm rendering my pattern. So these are all fabrics that I had swatches of. And I went in, like this is an orange lycra that had flowers embossed on it. Or this was a batiqued pattern on a plum ground. You know, and so when you can render like that over the watercolor in your sketchbook, it helps bring your ideas to life and help you decide which parts, which garments are going to be in which fabric. And really, it's, oh, a watercolor may take longer, or gouache, as we say. It's a special kind of watercolor that's more opaque. It may take so long, but the satisfaction is so cool when you get all the texture and really bring things to life. It's like so exciting. So all these fabrics are rendered. And like I said, they're rendered quickly in the sketchbook. So in the class, we would definitely, I hardly showed you any art supplies left. So here's the Prismacolor pencils that I recommend. I definitely recommend a sketchbook. And I told you about that. And actually in the kit that you order that's on my website, you would get a book like this. So it's spiral bound. Why spiral bound? If you are using it as your croquis book, which is like your design development sketchbook, having a book like that, gives you room. It's the binding won't break. You can put fabric swatches in there. You know, you can get some double stick tape, and double stick tape is in the kit. Double stick tape is a great way to mount your fabrics, to create fabric stories, fabric boards, inspiration boards that you would, for example, you could glue all this, not glue, double stick tape these into your sketchbook. And then right next to that, you could have some images, inspiration images. It could be either designer clothes, or it could be just fine art or architecture. It could be locations. It could be words. It could be images of the woman who is your ideal client. So fabric swatches, images and inspiration. It's like so delicious to have a sketchbook, a croquis book, where you put all your love in there. You just, it's like a little treasure trove. You collect and collect the things that fuel you, the things that excite you. It could be current designers. It could be historical design. It could be a garment you own. It could be images from a costume museum you just went to. It could be anything, you know what you like. It could be a certain musician who's kind of started a clothing movement or a dance style, a certain city that has a certain style going on, anything. Okay, so croquis book is in your list of supplies. Other thing that's really important is I always put Bristol. Is this Strathmore too? No, Utrecht. So on my website, fashionillustrationtribe.com, you will find there's a whole supply cart, like a whole kit link in one of the posts. Also on my YouTube channel. No, but the link is on the website. So Bristol paper is a really nice paper for illustrating on. So what I showed you here, which was like sketchbook sketches, which see how they're kind of sheer and kind of lightweight and playful. Because I don't know about you, but I feel a lot safer and more at ease in a relaxed environment where I can just play. I can sketch and draw and whatever and not feel like I'm worried about how much every page costs. You know, I need to be really relaxed. Whereas Bristol is still, it's not that much, it's not that expensive, but it's a wonderful paper that's thicker. So this one really takes the watercolor well. And 11 by 14 or 14 by 17 will be the best size. 11 inches by 14 inches or 14 by 17 inches. This is just 8.5 by 11. And I offer that to my online students because then they can scan their work. Because 11 by, most of our scanners aren't that big, right? And just a reminder, if anyone hopped on more recently, I didn't realize the sun was going to be setting while I was scoping. But if you're seeing me horizontally, you can use Periscope horizontally now. You just need to update your app. And if anyone's hopped on just a little while ago, My name's Laura Volpentesta. I'm the founder of Fashion Illustration Tribe, which is a really kind and ethical place to learn fashion drawing and sketching. And I also teach a personal school design for 20 years. I'm also the author of a book called The Language of Fashion Design that came out 2 years ago on Rockport Publishers. And I love, 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 love to hear from you when I'm here. So if you're getting any content that's useful for you, or if you have any questions, please just pipe in. I'd love to hear from you and, ask me anything. So Bristol is a great paper to use for fashion illustration, but make sure it's a vellum surface. That's the word I've been using, vellum. And like I said, 11 by 14 would be even better, but vellum means that it has that toothy surface. If it says smooth or hot pressed, that means the paper is going to feel glassy to the touch, and it won't have a lot of the texture that you probably want when you're rendering fabrics. Okay, so then for color me, well, it's all kinds of stuff I want to show you. I'm going to show you my brushes, favorite brushes, and the amazing thing is, because I've been in school so long, etc., I've been able to find supplies that are amazing, but they're not expensive at all. So if you order my kit that's on my website, again, fashionillustrationtribe.com, and you click on blog and you look into especially the older articles, you will see there are 2 about art supplies, and in there, even on the home page of my free course, because there's a free course on my website that teaches you some basics about getting started with your art supplies and teaches you to draw a tall standing figure in a way that makes it customizable, so you can do any size or shape of body using that technique, but that it's still fashion feeling. In that free course that you get when you subscribe, you also get the link to the supply kit. Of course, that's like $150, but it's so worth it. But just to basically tell you, these brushes that are in the kit are actually like $4 each, and that sounds awful, but it's amazing. You can spend a lot of money on a brush that's not so good sometimes, and you can also get some very good brushes that are very, very inexpensive, and that's what these are. And it's not like I've even just tried them. It's like I've used them for 20 years and keep replacing them. They're excellent. But what you want to note is that any brush you buy, if it's not one from my kit, when you push it down, it should really snap straight up. I don't know if you can actually hear that, but it's like a really firm snap. Because I can't tell you how many times we started the semester at Parsons, the student shows up with this brush that just like you push it down and the bristles just sit there. And that's not gonna, you can't work without great supplies. Doesn't mean you have to work with expensive supplies, but they do have to be great ones. Other things you want to know about this brush is that it has a round barrel. This part here is round, and a pointed tip. Pointed tip brushes I won't show you right now, but I'll show you in other videos and stuff. But they can take you from a very, very, very fine line, and then when you press harder, you can actually get a thick line. Thick as a thigh, thick as a leg, thick as a neck. So you can really fill in the body so quickly. Pants, jackets, sleeves, whatever. And then another brush that I recommend is the same. So this says size 8. That's pretty standard. So it's at Utrecht, it's called Sablette. It's a synthetic. You can also get a teeny version of the same thing. Round barrel, pointed tip, but this is like a 0. Actually, this is a 1. A 0 or a 1. And that would be for small details like eyebrows or little prints that you're rendering on an illustration. And then we have a round brush with a straight tip, and this, and of course, we do really amazing things. We use it as a dry brush most of the time. It's amazing for creating textures like linen, like fur, like plaids, all this. Anywhere you have teeny tiny stripes that are like too tiny to draw, we do effects with this amazing brush. So it's a round barrel again, but flat at the top, not pointed, but not flat this way. You see what I mean? It's a round brush cut straight across. So that's really fun. And like I said, they're not expensive. If you get that whole kit, it's just a wonderful, it's just a link on my website. It's this, the art supply kit. And then another thing that I totally recommend is felt tip black pens that are waterproof. I feel like I've been talking quite a while and I'm not sure anybody's here, so I don't know if I should stop. Does anyone? Oh, but my son's playing jazz on the sax now, so that's kind of a treat. If you're getting anything useful here, please give me some hearts. And if not, I'm planning a webinar for next week for everyone on my email list and putting up some Facebook ads as well. Let me know what you do want to learn about. Let me know what you would like. You can tweet me too. My Twitter handle is the same, of course, as my Periscope. It's at L Volpintesta, VOLPINTESTA, because I just really want to be providing great content for you so that you can learn everything you want to learn about all this design and illustration stuff without going into student debt. One thing I love for my life courses and even for my my free level 1 course is a woodless graphite pencil. So it's pencil without wood. And we use that because when you use a pencil without wood, you can, a big thing I talk about in my art classes is getting used to drawing not so much with line but with shape. And using the side of your pencil, you can create areas of tone instead of only lines. And in the beginning of my course, I really tried to get you to abandon line for a few, what I would call weeks, or a few lessons before we then bring line in. I don't know if any of you dance or do like yoga or anything like that, but there's this concept called isolation. Like in a dance class, I don't know if you've ever been in a class where they like tell you to stop everything and only move your shoulder, you know. Total isolation. Nothing else moves on the body, just your shoulder. Or nothing moves except just the hip. Or just the neck. So in drawing and in art and design, I also do isolation exercises. Isolation means we may not use line at all for a whole week. I call them weeks. A whole step. Just totally focus on shape for a while. And then get back to line. Line and shape are related, right? The edges of every shape can be interpreted as line. But if you always default to line, you will not have the same kind of, you won't have as much of a 3D feeling. Okay, I can't hear the saxophone right now. I'll see you in 5 minutes, all right? So, for example, this figure was drawn without line. Whoops. Well, it's sort of linear forms, but this is a quick figure. You could see the bend of the torso and the pose and the movement and the life. We call that gesture as well, when you're getting a quick feeling before getting all specific, because so many of us spent so long in school learning to draw letters and alphabets that we don't realize that when we go to draw, we approach it like writing. And drawing and art is completely different. It's not about creating symbols that look like things, but it's actually about interpreting what you see, which is often quite different than what you think of it. Like, you think arm, you know what an arm is and what an arm looks like. But when you go to draw an arm, there are 1,000 million positions, and you can get very, what your brain knows about arms and what you're seeing to draw it properly can be very different things. But it's fun to see past that and to develop that skill. Let's see what's here. So the last thing I haven't showed you yet, I was going to show you the felt tip ink pens, but family's we actually have an appointment tonight. So I'm just going to show you something else, which is super affordable. Gouache. Have you heard of gouache? So gouache, Gouach, it's a kind of a watercolor. And just so you know, if you look at my website too, you're going to see a lot of digital illustrations. And I do those too. And I'm definitely teaching workshops. And sometimes I do scopes about digital techniques for professional illustration and art. But before you go digital, having this foundation of analog and natural supplies, watercolor, paintbrush, slowing down and diving into your process, it will change the way you work with the digital. And if you don't have that experience first, I think it's way harder to cross over. So I want to give everyone tools of art supplies and art experience that they can use for a lifetime, for design, to go digital, to not. But it's like a rite of passage. It's such deep knowledge, so many wonderful things to learn, to be learned. I get so excited just thinking about it. The last thing I was going to show you was the gouache. You can buy gouache in tubes. It's like a watercolor paint, but it's more opaque than watercolors. Very rich, very velvety, and perfect for representing fabrics. So the tube one is great, but it can be messy and more of a hassle to use. So you can use that. But the one that comes in the kit I gave is this Pelican brand opaque watercolors, which is a gouache. Some tempera paints work really well too. But this comes with a lot of colors, actually more colors than I normally would recommend, but it's also a really great kit because it does come with these neutrals that you can mix easily into skin tones or to make colors more subtle when the available colors are too bright. And in my course, I also teach about how to really accurately mix colors to match exactly the color you're trying to match. How to render prints to scale down to the size of the body that you've drawn. How to do technical drawings. And for the technical drawings, we start with pencil, but then yes, we can use felt tip waterproof pens. Micron is a really standard one in fashion studios. And then another is you can get this Pitt pen kit. These come in a kit of 4, and it's a great kit because one of the pens is a brush tip, which is very expressive and very, very black and brush, and then the other ones are just a super, very, very fine tip line, a medium line, and then a thicker line. And having a variety of lines is key. You definitely want that for technical sketches. And we are fun with that. That we do in the whole course, we will definitely go from finished illustrations of your own uniquely designed collection, plus technical drawings, plus a sketchbook where you create mood boards and fabric swatches and development sketches. It's really exciting. But no one has any questions or anything to say or any hearts, so I'm out of here. Have a great day. Hope you stop by again soon. And on Instagram, I'm Fashion Illustration Tribe on Insta. And that's that. Hang on a second. I'm on Pinterest. I am on. Thanks for joining. And I'll be back with more soon. Actually, today was a super, 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 super rough day. I'm glad I made it at all. And there will be days like this, right? But it's about to get better because my son's playing saxophone tonight in his jazz quartet, and that will be really. It's usually one of the highlights of the week. Grandma and Grandpa will be there, bring my daughters, and that's always a celebration of summer, celebration of our town, celebration of music. So thanks for joining me.